We have 5. So no quorum.
Nope. You tell me if you guys want to get started without. I'll follow your lead.
Do you want to ask Kyle, or do you want to make the call, or?
So we will not gavel it in. At this time, we are going to adjust the agenda. I would at least, if we could, we're not going to call roll, but I am going to ask Ms. Wheelwright that she would introduce the individuals that are here present for the sake of our guests, so he'll know who it is. I think he knows me. I'm simply Vaughn. And Ms. Wheelwright, if you'll at least introduce our other members here.
Sure. Do you want me to just call roll, and that way we have like
That'll be fine. That'll be
an
fine.
official count?
That'll be fine.
Okay. So Mayor White is absent. Councilmember Lara.
Here.
Interim City Manager Elizabeth Gibbs. Economic Development Manager Kyle Warzinski.
Here.
Chairman Von Lawson.
Present.
Vice Chair Betty Rader stated she would be absent.
Okay.
Member Ahmed.
Here.
Member Beneke stated he would be absent. Member Brown stated he would be absent. Member Coblin stated he would be absent. Member Moran.
Present.
Member Carl Vince. Absent. And that's it.
All right, thank you. So we're still without quorum. With that in mind, I want to introduce to you all a young man who I have the pleasure of working with each and every day at Mount San Jacinto. Here's the thing. I always thought I knew about apprenticeship programs. I had one when I was at Santiago Canyon College, and I just thought I knew everything there was until I met this young man. And what I know about apprenticeship programs, you could put in a thimble. He is truly a master of apprenticeship programs in every form that you can imagine in the state, well respected in this region, and has been an absolute blessing. The unfortunate part, he has a better half. She's a whole lot better looking than him and much smarter, and she told him that he can no longer work after this year. So we're going to lose him, and that means that we're going to lose a rich wisdom and knowledge in this particular field. But I thought that it would be such a blessing to have him come at the request when Mr. Warsinski had asked us to speak to this body and share what the apprenticeship program, which grew from absolutely nothing, a concept, an idea, to what he has built it up in a very short period of time. So without any further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce Director Tom Oxford. Come on up and educate us, young man.
Well, thank you. I'd love to. Do I have a star? To stand on it. I'm not sure where the best place to be is. If this is it,
Yes, sir.
then I'm going to stay put. You have outdone yourself and me as well, and I appreciate the opportunity. Apprenticeship at Mount San Jacinto College is part of a statewide apprenticeship. Can everybody hear all right? It's part of a statewide apprenticeship, and the various programs that
Oh, you're fine. Go right ahead.
I'm okay. The various programs that exist in the community colleges in the Inland Empire and Desert Region are hubbed together through an organization called the Launch Apprenticeship Network. And about 3 years ago, the administration of California launched the California Apprenticeship Initiative and set a huge objective of putting I won't even utter the number, it's so big, but very many active apprentices in place by the end of the decade. And I'll explain what I mean by apprentice in a minute. The consortium of community colleges for us regionally got the idea that we ought to organize the effort, and the Launch Apprenticeship Network was formed, and as a consequence, all us dozen community colleges that collaborate or have the ability to collaborate with one another do so through Launch. Mount San Jacinto has taken I don't know if the other community colleges were here, they would say, sit down, Tom. But I would say a leading role in being collaborative and innovative, and I'll explain just a few of those things. And Vaughn, you need to nod when I've overstayed my welcome, because there's just so much to talk about. But I will tell you that San Jacinto right now is a year and a half ago, started with an automotive apprenticeship program. And what we had in mind is putting students who are still going as students at the community college into dealerships. We figured dealerships are ubiquitous, virtually, or absolutely everyone has a service department. So we're saying that's where these people have to go. So we bring a student in, could be the very wet behind the ears kid, and we say, you want to be an apprentice? He says, yep. We sign him up, and we put him in a basic class. And as soon as he finishes the basic class, then we try to farm him out to a dealership. And it's not an internship. This is not exploratory. The whole idea is that we're trying to find, it's an immature program, so we're not finding all the right ones yet, but we're trying to find students who are actually interested in an automotive career. We're putting them in a job, they get paid for the job, and they get structured on-the-job training. So we're into this for a year and a half or so in automotive, and we've decided to open up additional occupations, and so we have a total of 5 now. We have a couple of students who are in engineering drafting, and ultimately we'll find a place for them to take a job. We have some students in water technology. We're finding that that area, for a variety of reasons, is a harder nut to crack than others, but we're working on it. Cybersecurity is absolutely the hottest thing going right now, and we're in collaboration not only with California Apprenticeship Initiative, but on top of that, a so-called Cybersecurity Apprenticeship Initiative that extends to all of California, but because of the fact that Launch is advanced to the extent that it is, just in a couple of years, the governor and the state Department of Industrial Relations, Labor Department, said, let's kick this off in the Inland Empire because they've got some infrastructure in place already. San Jacinto being a part of putting that in place. And what's new about that is that it's not just community colleges. We're working very closely with Cal State San Bernardino that has a very effective cybersecurity program that receives grant funding from National Security Agency and is connected to Space Force. People have different points of view with regard to the goodness of Space Force, but the fact is that CSUSB will be taking cybersecurity students and moving them career-wise into Space Force, amongst other positions. Viticulture is the 5th one that we're doing. We are having students, we don't have any in the field at the moment, but next harvest time, we will be putting students in Temecula Valley wine growing country, grape growing country, and they'll be participating in harvest. And some of those who choose an enology pathway will actually be engaged once of age in winemaking. So us having a monumental presence in Temecula, as you're aware, we just cannot not do that. So we're engaged in that apprenticeship. In the coming fall, we will start 5 new programs on top of the 5 that already exist. So we're gradually moving into many occupations. I think as time goes on and a full-time director is in place, he will be influenced by me and by Vaughn to understand what the heavy burden of meeting the state objectives happens to be. We intend to put a lot of apprentices in place. That means we can't put 1,000 auto mechanics into this side of the Inland Empire. There's just not space for them. So we need many occupations to be addressed. And that's not all about the objectives numbers. It's about the fact that this is a new modern way. Well, we say modern. Anybody who's old enough knows what auto shop used to be like back in the day, and wood shop and so forth and so on. And we're sort of going back to the future, and we're doing it in a very sensible way. If I'm running short of time, I'll talk faster, but I do need to say a couple of things about exactly what an apprentice is. And I want to say a couple of things about K-12 because we're in Beaumont country, and so I need to say that right now. An apprentice is a person who is a student, a modern apprentice is a student, typically in a community college, but not necessarily. Our Cal State, San Bernardino will lead to university level apprenticeship work. So a whole nother story. Is a student who is put into the workplace, typically full-time, but not necessarily, to receive structured on-the-job training. Therefore, the community college has got to collaborate with the business to be sure that the competencies expected by the business and by the community college are aligned. So it goes beyond things that have been done before, and it's certainly different from waiting for a student to be a near graduate before you try to find a job for them. So it's different, and supported by the state of California, the apprentice enrollment in a community college is with all fees waived. All fees waived. And as I mentioned, we work with whomever the employer is. So we have so many different occupations, we have to figure out what the occupations need, right? And develop competency lists that are different for everything. I mean, obviously, a water treatment plant guy doesn't have to know how to do brake jobs, right? The competency lists are all distinct, and we have to work closely with the industry in order to ensure that the industry is aligned with what we want, and we're aligned with what they want. And this is, Vaughn, related to something that you and I have often talked about. You have an industry advisory that talks to you and gives community college advice. The apprenticeship program establishes committees to manage what they're doing, and the committees are industry-led so that we have the opportunity to have advisory on a fairly continuous basis, words and advice coming into the school by virtue of the school observing the way the industry is running these committees in the various areas. Well, I hasten to point out we're immature, and it's a year from now, things are going to look more solid. I'll be more comfortable with it. Well, I may be watching on Zoom from Tahiti or someplace. I don't know. But the fact is the program's growing, many areas, and growing in number. two other things I want to mention. One, K-12 connection. We're working with Beaumont High School, with the school district. We have ideas in mind for advanced manufacturing, for one thing. But also, I note that there are articulation agreements in place already in automotive. There's every reason for Beaumont USD to be aligned with us through a formal pre-apprenticeship program. No, I haven't formally proposed that, so let us not be promotional about it. In due course, I'll work with the school district in order to make that come about. But we have extremely close collaboration with the state organizations that do the registration. So we'll work toward that, and we already have an automotive pre-apprenticeship in place with Hemet Unified. So that we've got a model to proceed from, we've got some processes in place, and it should be easy. And the whole idea is that this is so simple. It is just so unimaginably simple. We have difficulty dealing with industry and sometimes most ourselves with moving ahead because it can be simple. We're trying to make it simple, and there's so many benefits come from it. Final thing I wanted to say is that we, in the spirit of collaboration and through Launch operating as our hub, we're able to connect with all the dozen community colleges. And so we have a firm agreement with Chaffey College and with Riverside City College in automotive, for example, and have received $500,000 in grant funding for making things work on some particular activities that we plan over the next 3 years. And we'll have in the coming year opportunities for more grant funding from the state and from the feds as well. So we're looking at all those things. We're growing faster than I can grow with it. We need more help, as you know. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. If there's any questions.
Do we have any questions of Director Oxford?
I do have a question. Can you share what the 5 new apprenticeship programs will be this year?
If I can remember them.
Or a few, maybe?
Dean Lawson has just approved those in the course of the last week, and so I'll have to remember what I was promoting. No, the answer is, what we want to do is an additional apprenticeship in viticulture. What we have at the present time focuses on northern San Diego County and hasn't moved rapidly enough into Riverside County. So we propose to jump on Temecula Valley growers with both feet. Gosh, we have a K-12 pre-apprenticeship alignment with Hemet Unified, in which a grower in the valley is assisting Hemet Unified to put in a working vineyard. I anticipate multiple working vineyards in the ag departments of high schools all over the Inland Empire. And I anticipate, you're here first, an organization amongst the high school level growers that will undertake business considerations, because these are going to be commercial vineyards. And I see engaging business departments at the high school level and at the college level to address ag business, in addition to the technology of growing. So these are the ideas of this sort, is what make activity in the Inland Empire vibrant and noticed by others, and so we're moving ahead. I didn't quite answer your question because I'm stalling for time on remembering what the others are, but I'll tell you in a few minutes. And I better quit because I'm using up everybody's time. I'm sure you got real business
We
too.
appreciate you. Any additional questions for Director Oxford?
Chair, I don't have a question, but I have more of a comment, if that's okay.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
So First, Tom, thank you so much for coming to the meeting and presenting. I it must be my age, but I remember what apprenticeship programs used to be or what internship programs used to be. And
Yeah.
hearing you describe this program that Matt Santo is putting together with the other community colleges within the area is pretty inspiring. I think that a lot of times people think that they're sending their kids to college or a learning institution, and many times when I graduated, some of my counterparts didn't have real life work experience, and it seems like you all have really tried to merge those two together, where they're getting a quality education and they're really getting some real life experience within the industry that they're looking at entering once they conclude their learning. And I think that's definitely going to help this region tremendously, because as we know, we have more jobs than people available.
Right.
And the more that we can do from the city to help you, or the more that the learning institutions can do to prepare that future workforce to enter the workforce as fast as possible with the training that they need, and that the employers want, should be commended. So I just want to thank you for coming and presenting what you guys are doing.
I'm so obliged for the comments, and I hope that we can, San Jacinto can send somebody over next year to give you a progress report.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Mr. Oxford. And one thing that I think he told you, that not only do they get paid, they finish school with no debt. And that's one of the reasons I truly love apprenticeships. No debt. And we know our students, when they finish school, they often have large loans that they have to pay, and it's very difficult. And when they go back to school, they have great jobs that they can pay for their own tuition. So that's wonderful. So great job, Director Oxford, without a doubt. Now,
Thank you
you are
very much.
welcome to stay with us, but I would encourage you, from one thorn to another thorn, to go home to that beautiful rose. And as my late pastor, Dr. Jackson, would say something sweet to her.
I will do it. I absolutely will do it. Thanks
Thank
for the
you so much,
opportunity,
sir.
all. I
All
certainly
right, I'll see
appreciate
you back on the campus.
Bye-bye.
All right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Thank
Bye,
you, sir.
everyone.
And I'm going to digress just one moment, if I would, and ask for your forgiveness and ask for some direction from Ms. Wheelwright as well as Councilman Laura. Are we, even if we have an informal meeting, are we prohibited from doing the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yep, we
Is
can do that.
is there anything that prevents us? Okay, I did not. Thank you, sir. Then I want to digress and do what we should do accordingly to, in respect to our country. That's always important. So I am going to ask, if I could, Mr. Moran, are you there?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Member Moran, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, sir?
Sure. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in pledging allegiance to our flag.
I pledge allegiance
Allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so much, member.
Thank you.
And again, forgive my oversight. That won't happen again, but I needed some guidance there, so thank you. We are still without quorum, but that does not prevent us from hearing a report from Mr. Warsinski and his team with regard to at least updates of projects. We will have to defer items 4 and 6, or 5 and 5 as it says, 5 and 5, until we can have a quorum, because we need recommendations. But at this time, I'll defer to Mr. Warsinski to provide us with any updates on projects from the city, please.
Thank you, committee chair, members of the committee. So quick update for you. At the last meeting, we had provided the committee some informational updates on what the city was bringing with us to the ICSC, which is International Council of Shopping Centers annual regional conference out in Vegas this year. And I wanted to provide kind of a recap on the city's attendance and some of the interactions that we had. So I put together a little brief when I returned, and I totaled up the number of meetings and interactions that I had at the conference within the day and a half that it takes place. And I tallied 22 interactions in meetings with different businesses, retailers, developers, and so forth. So it was definitely a good time. I believe Rob was there. If Rob didn't make it, I saw many members of his team. I just did not happen to cross his path during the conference, but I did want the committee to know that Rob and I were one and two of, I think, 22,000 people that were at this event. So there was a lot of interest in this event, I think, because it was somewhat dulled down for 2021. So there was a lot of retailers out there hungry for some new area. So developers that I had not talked to before that expressed interest in learning kind of which opportunity sites the city had to offer. And I'm pleased to say that as a result of the attendance at ICSC, we've had at least two follow-up meetings with developers that are looking at the area, and I have, I think, one or two more already scheduled for the next upcoming couple of weeks or so. So definitely good news coming back from there. Another project update I wanted to provide, and Christina, you can jump in and add more to it if I miss the mark or if I'm leaving out a couple critical details. But the city has been moving forward on our Rangel Park upgrades, and that's down south of State Route 60 freeway near Veely and 4th Street. If you're not familiar with that park, it's an older park that needed some rehab, and the city stepped up, doing a phenomenal job on lighting, completely rehabbing the ball field, as long as the fencing, and some athletic courts and so forth. So you may ask yourself why that type of upgrade, that type of project is interesting to the Economic Development Committee. But if you think back to the Economic Development Strategic Plan, creating that quality of place, that quality of life component is very important for the city as a whole in order to attract talented workforce, attract new customers for our businesses, which are also our residents. The more of these park upgrade projects that we see, I'll be sure to report those back to the committee so that you kind of know what's going on from another arm of the city in terms of making Beaumont a really nice place to live and to work. And then lastly, I'm just going to plug the summer job fair that the city is holding. If you know any businesses that are looking at hiring, have them reach out to me. We're still accepting registrations for that, and it will be held later this month on Wednesday, June 29th from 9 a.m. to noon at the Recreation Center, the CRC, up on Oak Valley Parkway. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Warsinski. Are there any questions for Mr. Warsinski or his team? Any questions? Any questions? Hearing none. Okay, at this time, there is no other business that we would be able to convene. We can't visit the minutes, so we would have to forward those or have two sets of minutes to approve during our next. I will ask at this time if there are any reports just from members of the committee, please. Any reports that we can share out? I will
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir. Mr. Moran, please.
thank you. Yes, I just wanted to provide a quick update and piggyback on what Kyle mentioned about what used to be called the former International Council of Shopping Centers Conference. It still goes by ICSC, but it's been rebranded, and don't ask me what the acronym stands for. I forgot. I think I still call it the same as Kyle, but it's been rebranded based on the fact that the retail industry has changed so dramatically to some extent. And it really isn't about shopping centers anymore. Retail is really different now. But nonetheless, I was not at the show, and I missed it this year simply because we have a team that's been working on that. And so I kind of turned over the reins a little bit to our very, very talented individuals. But just so folks understand that the county has a significant presence at the ICSC show. We have what we call our Team Riverside County Pavilion. It's approximately 2,500 square feet, and we do sort of a co-op where cities will join with us, and we offer exhibit space. So we had a total of, I believe, 14 cities and/or economic development corporations that participated, and they can hold their meetings there, either in sort of private or semi-private meeting space, or there's common areas where they can just use tables for meetings and display their materials and so forth. And it's a program and an effort we put together and been doing for 10 years or so plus. And so it works really well when you kind of have this synergy and all these different organizations working together. A lot of times developers, retailers, and others will all come and have several meetings in one spot. So it really helps our customers. But yeah, it's a show that shrunk significantly, obviously, because of the pandemic, and it's rebuilding slowly. But what you have, I think, and Kyle reflected this in his comments, is that while it's smaller than it was perhaps in 18 and 19, you have more serious interest from those that are there versus others that you'd have a lot of people that attend that maybe were selling bollards and Christmas lights and things that sort of supported the real estate industry or the retail industry. A lot of those folks have not returned yet. And it's really the pure retailers and folks that are in that sector. And I should note too that many of those folks that are working in that area are also doing commercial, industrial projects and others. So kind of get to kill a couple birds with one stone. So that's my report. Thank you for the opportunity for the update.
And thank you, sir. Any additional reports? I'm going to throw this out quickly just for your information, but we have just gone into discussions with our other sister colleges in this region, that is Mount San Jacinto, to partner with Amazon across this region through our non-credit, our adult education, and ESL programs. As you're well aware, Amazon will often hire a number of individuals who have English as a second language, and they can benefit by improving their language abilities, which will only serve to improve their opportunities to gain further education and pursue additional career opportunities in our communities. And so we will be working with the Amazon here in Beaumont. Chaffee and San Bernardino are working with the Amazons up in the Redlands area, as well as further north to our county. And so we'll keep you apprised of that. We're excited about what it can mean. Amazon is looking for us to actually bring classes to their facilities. So in their facilities to provide ESL, English as a second language, as well as other training opportunities. Amazon, as you're aware, has a lot of turnover. But they want individuals when they leave to have the opportunity to grow and move. So we want to be a partner with them if we can, and I think it'll be a benefit to the Beaumont area, certainly, if we have individuals that have that dual capacity as far as language to be able to represent themselves to other opportunities in our community as we grow. So I will keep you apprised of that. We're excited. We just had our first meeting this past week, and everybody was on board, and our institution is behind it. So I'm going to look for this to possibly be in place by fall. They've given us a very short window to find the instructors and get everything going. And Amazon does things like that. And oftentimes, as you're well aware, higher education doesn't do things like that. They have to have a committee that then breaks off into other committees that breaks off into subcommittees, and then they come back to the main committee. So we're excited. I am very excited that we have a business and industry that's putting a fire under us to get some things accomplished for this community. That said, are there any other reports that you all want to bring before? If not, in an informal manner, we are going to adjourn this meeting here, I guess, at 4:36. I'm going to say thank you. I've enjoyed this fellowship, and we will defer our other actions, Ms. Wheelwright, to the next meeting and bring them before the body for an official vote. All
And then
right.
just to make a quick note, the next
Yes.
meeting will be August. We go dark in
Fantastic.
July,
No problem. And which date in August?
August 10th.
All right, I'll be back from Oklahoma a few pounds heavier. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.